Hey, you guys ready to get back swole? Welcome to Friday, June 19th, day number 96, creeping ever closer to the century mark. Today's stuff is mostly going to focus on back posterior shoulder work, so probably a little more upper back if you want to think of it that way. We're going to start with some pull work. 4 rounds, 30 seconds, max reps of strict pull-ups with a minute and a half rest. Now, if we don't have the ability to do pull-ups, modifying obviously okay. I'd like you guys to try and keep this as a body weight movement, a body weight pull, as opposed to transitioning to some type of external load like dumbbells, kettlebells, or barbells. All right, so if you have questions about that, stick around, watch the video, and I will demonstrate for you. For the workout, 20 minutes, alternating on the minute. First one is going to be 15 dumbbell overhead squats. Second minute is going to be 15 dumbbell overhead squats, left arm. Third minute is going to be 150 foot suitcase carry on the right side. Just think of that like carrying a grocery bag. Fourth minute is going to be 150 foot left-handed suitcase carry. And those are the same weights you guys are using to do the overhead squat. And then fifth and final minute there is going to be the 25 band pull aparts at the chest, palms facing down. We're going to go through obviously 4 rounds of each of these. All right, so on the overhead squats, if we need to lighten the weight or lessen the reps, I would rather see you lighten the weight, keep the reps first. Okay, if we then need to also bring the reps down, that's fine. Again, this is one of those, I don't want to call it odd, but difficult unilateral movements that a lot of times we need to err on the side of quality versus quantity to get more impact and more out of it. So don't be afraid to make adjustments if you need to make adjustments. And again, I'm going to go over this in a minute in another video. But something else to keep in mind, it doesn't really matter how you guys set up the suitcase carry. You're going to do both arms and you're going to do each one the same distance. So if you're going out for 150 feet, coming back for 150 feet, that works. If you're going out for 75, back for 75 each side, that works. If you have 50 feet marked out, back, out, and then back, out, back for both sides. So nothing to really worry about there. Stick around for demonstrations and modifications. Joining me in the at-home fitness garage gym, let's go over the pull-up or row workout for today, and then we'll talk about the WOD afterwards. So for the pull-up, remember 4 rounds, we're working for 30 seconds, we're resting for a minute and a half. In terms of the pull-ups, if you want to keep them, that's fine. I'm looking for this to be a little bit more of a strength workout, so I would rather them be strict pull-ups, even if you're not able to connect 2 in a row. Doing one, dropping down, jumping right back up, doing the next is fine in my opinion. I would prefer a pull-up grip, meaning palms away, as opposed to a chin-up grip, meaning palms facing. The idea is to try and accumulate as many pull-ups as we can in the 30 seconds for the 4 rounds. So if you're doing so many in that first 30 seconds, so you're not going to be able to do very any in that second 30 seconds, and that's not necessarily the point. I want the highest number for 4 rounds. So if there's strategy involved in that, that's fine. There's strategy involved in that. If we can't do pull-ups, whether it's because of strength or whether it's because of equipment, then I would prefer you try and keep this as much body weight work as possible, meaning transitioning to a bodyweight row, whether it be with T-Rex rings. We talked about back during the pandemic how to do that on the bottom of a kitchen table. You can do it, I'm sure some of you have seen the way that people tie knots into bed sheets and throw them over the top of a door, close the door and do them that way. But the idea here is I would like it to stay a bodyweight row. You can always modify by changing the angle. Just from the aspect of there's not really a second load, so to speak, that's being introduced to the equation. Okay, so 4 rounds, 30 seconds of max effort rep work, and a full minute. Looking at the single arm overhead squat programmed for a dumbbell, 50 for the guys. 35 for the ladies. To reiterate the workout, we're gonna do 15 squats that first minute on the right side, 15 squats second minute on the left side, and then we're gonna get into a carry that's gonna be suitcase style. So holding it at the side, opposite oblique engaged, and I'm just walking, okay? 150 feet, it can be 75 out, 75 back. You can do 50-foot increments, keeping in mind you're gonna do both sides, so it will come out to an even number and you'll actually be back where you finished. And then the last part of that is gonna be the 5th minute, which is gonna be the band pull-aparts, right? So very similar to that reverse fly. When we're doing the band pull-aparts, I want them to be at the chest all 4 rounds, and I want them to be palms down, okay? A couple things to think about. Try not to get out of alignment too much, meaning shoulder, elbow, wrist, or band, however you want to look at that. Try and maintain as much of a straight, flat, parallel to the floor alignment as we can as we're flexing those shoulder blades back together and then releasing on the way through. Stick around.
Stay tuned for movement modifications.
All right, let's finish this off by going through our modifications for the workout and the strength. Strength we pretty much have gone over entirely, keeping a body weight, keeping it a row if we can't do the pull-ups. For the workout, let's hit the easy stuff first. So if I can't do the band pull-apart, but I have light dumbbell, something along those lines, then getting that bent over reverse fly, again, palms down, is the correct option there. Keeping in mind that, especially if we're talking about upwards of 25 reps, guys, like that's not gonna be a heavy weight. So even if you have something in your hands that weighs about 5 pounds you can find in the house, that's gonna be just as effective almost as using the band, okay? For the carry, all we're doing is carrying something that's not super heavy in one arm for 75 feet each direction, or each side, so to speak. Or 150 feet, 75 feet each direction, each side. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a weight. You guys can load up a book bag. I'm going to demonstrate something like that here in a second for the squats. It can, even be a cinder block if you happen to have a cinder block laying around the yard or something along those lines. Now, for the squat, if we have a very, very difficult time doing a single arm overhead squat, okay? There's a couple things we can do. I'd like to see you guys maybe put a bench under the butt, squat down, touch the bench, come back up from there before you make an adjustment and go to a front rack squat. We can, with a band, possibly try a single arm overhead squat. It is a much easier thing to do, in my opinion, with both arms, even though there's more tension on the band, but it is doable. As I said, for the carry, if you guys have a book bag, if you have a weight vest, this is also a different way that we can weight that single arm overhead squat as well by tossing the weight up there. Finally, something to keep in mind. The rep scheme is not necessarily an easy rep scheme to complete, even though it's an alternating EMOM. So if you guys need to cut the reps down, let's cut the reps down. I might even suggest, if we have a weaker side on that overhead stabilization for the squat, doing that side first to make sure you can handle that side, because there's not much sense to doing 10 on one side and 15 on the other. Okay, so try and find some balance there, try and even those out and get equal side work.